Coach Prime and the Buffaloes just added a familiar face from the HBCU landscape in former five-star offensive lineman Cardell Thomas, former FAMU offensive lineman Cardell Thomas, Celebration Bowl champion Cardell Thomas. But why this is super interesting and why it should probably raise some eyebrows if you're a Colorado fan, and we'll talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because I upload all the time. Now, we know we're in the middle of fall camp for all Division I programs across the country, and it looks as if Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and the Colorado Buffaloes just added another piece to their offensive line after giving up 52 sacks last year. We know they needed to improve their offensive line, and it looks like they just added another depth piece late into the fall camp season, and that is none other than former offensive lineman and Celebration Bowl champion, former FAMU offensive lineman and Celebration Bowl champion, Cardell Thomas. So this tweet was put out by Brian Howe at 1:24 Eastern Standard Time. It was a quote tweet of Matt Zentz, and it says, Colorado roster update. We received a new Colorado roster tonight, and Cardell Thomas is included. The 6'3", 310-pound guard is the newest scholarship addition to the CU Buffs for the 2024 season. And if you remember, Cardell Thomas was a big-time recruit out of the state of Florida, committed, played 4 years or 4 years at LSU, then transferred last fall to FAMU, helped FAMU go 11-1, 11-2, and win a Celebration Bowl, or a 12-1, 12-1 and won a Celebration Bowl. And then after Coach Willie Simmons, the head coach of FAMU, decided to take a job at Duke, Cardell hit the transfer portal. Now, Cardell, back on July 23rd, announced that he was going to Central Missouri. Found that very interesting. I was like, Cardell, if you're going to go to Central Missouri, sure, you should have just stayed at FAMU is what I was thinking. But FAMU had a coaching change. He went to FAMU to play for Coach Willie Simmons. Coach Willie Simmons leaves. He decided he was going to go to Central Missouri. Central Missouri was a good team. They won 11-2 last year. Wasn't a bad team. But I just thought for the experience, for the culture, it would have made more sense to stay at FAMU. Now, instead, he gets a lifeline thrown to him by none other than Coach Prime and his former recruiting coordinator at FAMU, Coach Devin Reese-Press. Now, if you don't know, Devin Reese-Press is the director of recruiting at Colorado, but he came from FAMU. He Coach Prime and Willie Simmons were friends. Reese-Press, when Willie took the Duke job, Reese-Press went with Prime to go to Colorado to be the director of recruiting at Colorado. Reese-Press has a ton of ties to the state of Florida, and that is Prime's connect to Florida. Prime is also from Florida, but you want to have a guy that knows all the high school coaches, that has boots on the ground in the state of Florida, and that's what Reese-Press is. Now, with this Cardell Thomas thing, though, it's interesting on a couple of fronts. You can look at it one or two ways. You can look at it like the first way that I just saw. Reese-Press knows Cardell from recruiting him to FAMU. Reese-Press threw Cardell a lifeline after saying he was headed to Central Missouri after transferring from FAMU. Hey, you did me a solid by coming to FAMU from LSU. I'm going to do you a solid and bring you to Colorado. Or you can look at this the second way. Now, you can call me a negative Nancy all you want, but this is just the truth. We're midway into fall camp. Like, we're in August. First games are played August 31st. First week of the season is August 31st. So you're halfway through, or you're through with week 1 of fall camp. Cardell Thomas hit the transfer portal like back in May. At any point, you could have brought Cardell Thomas into Colorado. Like, at any point. Prime, Reese-Press, they've all been there for months. You could have brought him in. He hit the portal, and this is no disrespect to him, but the best that he could do was Central Missouri, and that's fine. But Central Missouri isn't a Big 12 school like Colorado. Central Missouri isn't an FBS program like Colorado. Central Missouri is 11-2, great program, but that's not Big 12. That's not Power 4, Power 5 football. And no other Big 12, SEC, Big 10, Conference USA, whatever school reached out and made it happen with Cardell Thomas. So that's interesting. Could have had him months ago. You decided now. And what is interesting, too, because I don't think he's going to come in and start. I don't think, anyway. But it's like you saw what you had at fall camp. Fall camp is well underway across the country. You went through 5 or 6 practices, however many you've been through at fall camp. And maybe you realized this offensive line is still a problem. Maybe you realized we still need some depth behind our starters on the offensive line. I'm not saying that Colorado's 5 starting offensive linemen aren't any good. I'm not saying that because I don't think Cardell's going to come in and start. But the thing about offensive line, this is for every program in the country, both at the NFL and at the collegiate level, somebody's going to get hurt. Offensive linemen get hurt. And so that's why they have offensive line rotations. That's why you try to establish depth on that offensive line, because you're going to lose somebody at some point. It's just how it works, whether it's for a drive, for a series, for games, or for the whole season. That's just the purpose of it. And what you can't do is have one of your linemen get hurt, whether it's for a series, for a game, for a couple of games, and then not have an adequate backup, because a bad backup can cost you a game. A defense can wreck a game if your starter goes out and a backup is even in there for a couple of series. Because if that backup misses a block or makes a mistake or whatever and sacks your quarterback and hurts Shedeur, the season's over. So that's why you have to have quality, not just your starting 5, center, 2 guards, 2 tackles, but you have to have quality depth behind them. And what it sounds like, by putting Cardell on scholarship on August 9th, what it sounds like is Colorado isn't thrilled about their depth on the interior offensive line. I think they may like Tyler Brown and some of those guys on the inside at guard, center, or center guard. But if you're adding a scholarship player on August 9th that was in the portal back in May, it sounds like you went into fall camp, you got 5, 6 practices into fall camp and realized this offensive line still isn't where it needs to be. And we still need to add players to this offensive line. That's what that sounds like to me. For someone who has covered football for a long time, you don't typically see scholarship offensive linemen, scholarship anything, but especially offensive linemen, added 6 practices into fall camp. That just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And it sounds as if this offensive line could potentially still be a problem for the Buffs going into 2024. And that is going to be the only thing that holds you back from winning 10, 11 games, is if you can't protect Shedeur Sanders. Because if anything happens to the Shedeur like he did last year, 52 sacks last year, by the way. Some of that was on his fault. He held the ball too long. But most of that was because they had an inadequate offensive line. Your season will be over if anything happens to Shedeur Sanders. And adding Cardell Thomas on August 9th as a scholarship player it kind of makes me think that this offensive line and the depth there isn't what it needs to be. And that's kind of concerning because you're 5, 6 practices into fall camp. It's a little concerning. Once again, that's not to say that the 5 starters, because damn the starters, because one of them is going to get hurt. It's just how it happens. It's high-level college football. Happens across the country. One of your starters is going to miss time. I'm not saying they're going to miss significant time. It may only be a series or 2, but that's all it takes is one play for a backup to be in, misses assignment, and injure a quarterback, injure a running back, injure someone who is way more significant on your team. Adding Cardell Thomas on August 9th, I don't know. It seems a little off. But it also could just be Coach Reeves press throwing him a bone. Hey, you looked out for me at FAMU. I'm looking out for you. But you could take it one of 2 ways. I tend to think that they don't think that their offensive line is where it needs to be. The depth of the offensive line is where it needs to be. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Colorado adds Cardell Thomas to their roster. Former FAMU Celebration Bowl champion Cardell Thomas is added to the Colorado Buffaloes roster ahead of the 2024 season. 5, 6 practices into fall camp. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYJr, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell. Also, you can follow me on X and Instagram at JLightsy7. That is on X and Instagram at JLightsy7. Thank you, guys, for tuning in. I will see you next time. Peace.